overview, I think as most of you know, the Transportation Corridor Agencies is in the process of studying toll road expansion options in South Orange County through their South County traffic relief effort. To date, the process has included public meetings, a screening report, a project initiation document, and currently the preparation for an environmental analysis. What we plan to present today is sort of the highlights of the history of the process, the current approach by the Transportation Corridor Agencies, and some of the key points that as staff we intend to focus on as that effort moves forward and we have the opportunity to provide input into that. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kurt Brodtke.
Great. Good morning, I'm Kurt Brodtke in OCTA's Planning Division. We are here today to give you an overview of South Orange County planning activities. As Daryl mentioned, our emphasis today is related to the environmental document that the Transportation Corridor Agencies will release starting next month, or at least it's a notice of preparation, which is really the start of the process. So today we'll be talking about some issues that are likely to arise as that moves forward. Just as background, there's been quite a lot of planning activities in South Orange County over the last few years. Without going over every word on this particular slide, I did want to start on the right with some of the OCTA activities. A key milestone was our 2008 major investment study, which was really a roadmap for transportation improvements in South Orange County. And many of those improvements, if not most of them, have actually been implemented. And we'll show you a slide on that later. Measure M sales tax started in the 2010-2011 timeframe. As part of prior efforts, we have also focused on looking at carpool lane improvements south of the Measure M project on I-5 between Pico and the San Diego County line, and that study is currently underway. And then, as Daryl mentioned earlier, as part of prior presentations, there have been roughly about $2 billion of investments in the Metrolink program, some of which has occurred in South Orange County and really helped relieve traffic on I-5 as well as portions of North Orange County adjacent to State Route 91. On the left, we're showing some of the Transportation Corridor activities, Transportation Corridor Agency's activities that included the SOCTA project, as well as the Tesoro extension. As you know, that environmental document was challenged by an environmental coalition. There was a settlement agreement related to that. And the former green alignment, which would have impacted some sensitive environmental areas in South Orange County, was really taken off the table as an alignment option in South County. Subsequent to that, the Transportation Corridor Agencies initiated a new effort that included a project study report, project development report that's a Caltrans document that includes some of the concepts we'll talk about today. Caltrans has approved that PSR PDS document that includes some of the alternatives that we'll talk to you about today. And as I mentioned, TCA and Caltrans are expected to start the environmental process on the concepts that have emerged out of that particular planning study. This gives you an overview of some of the implemented and planned projects in South Orange County. As I mentioned earlier, many of these concepts emerged out of the South Orange County major investment study that was completed in 2008. So a combination of Caltrans, cities, OCTA, and other agencies have implemented many of these projects. Shown in green are many of the signal synchronization projects that have been implemented through our Measure M Project P, Regional Traffic Signal Synchronization Program. And then just point out a few projects because we'll come back to those in a moment. Right now, OCTA and Caltrans are underway with improvements on I-5 between El Toro and State Route 73. That project's essentially in the construction phase right now, construction and right-of-way phase. Recently completed was the HOV lane extension on this part of the 5 from essentially San Juan Creek Road to Avenida Pico. And then the County of Orange and Rancho Mission Viejo have recently extended Los Patrones Parkway, that's shown on the right here, that goes to Cow Camp Road here. And other improvements are underway as well. OCTA is underway with a planning study to extend this recently completed carpool lane to the south into the San Diego County area. So over $1 billion has been invested in freeway improvements in South Orange County, over $300 million in arterial improvements, over $30 million in signal synchronization projects, over $100 million in rail investments, and nearly $30 million in the community circulators program that came through Measure M's Project V, and there are even more projects coming forward. As it relates to the transportation corridor agencies and their PSR-PDS, which is the Caltrans planning document, there are a number of alternatives in that document. And as I mentioned, they plan to move these into the environmental phase. This is a complicated map, but I'll go quickly for you. There are essentially 8 alternatives that were in the previously published document. 2 of those are east-west connectors labeled 9 and 18 on this map. 2 are I-5 widenings with high occupancy toll lanes or general purpose lanes that are south of the I-5. Those are labeled 11 and 13 on this map, or 11 and 12 on this map. There are 3 alternatives that are 241 connections to I-5 versus various alignments. Those are labeled 13, 14, and 17 on this map. And there's one alternative, which is Los Patrones Parkway connection to Avenida La Plata, that's also combined with I-5 hot lanes south of the 73. So those 2 alternatives go together, and those are shown on the map as number 21. So there are really 4 conflict areas with some of the improvements that I mentioned earlier. On the north, OCTA is underway with Caltrans on the I-5 widening project between El Toro and State Route 73. A portion of that includes the Measure M funded carpool lanes from Alicia to El Toro, and the proposal is to convert a portion of that to high occupancy toll lanes. It's important to keep in mind that project is under construction right now, and there will be outreach activities that commence in coming months on that project. That project also includes a general purpose lane all the way down to the 73, and there'll also be extensive outreach with the community on that as that project moves formally into construction. So as the TCA engages on hot lane discussions with the community as well as potential impacts of I-5 projects, it'll be important that we coordinate those 2 outreach activities. One is in an environmental process by TCA, the other is a construction and right-of-way activity by OCTA. The second conflict area relates to Los Patrones Parkway. That facility is essentially, right now it runs from Oso Parkway down to Cow Camp Road, about right here. The TCA proposal includes an essential extension of State Route 241 to the south over that alignment. We're assuming that would be a toll facility because that is really the mission of the TCA, which is to construct toll facilities. Right now, that project is essentially a county road. It's also on the master plan of arterial highways, and portions of it are being used today by the general public. So that will be another issue that comes up as the formal scoping process starts on the Transportation Corridor Agencies project. A third area is related to I-5 improvements that were opened in 2018. And this was a project that essentially extended the carpool lane from San Juan Creek Road down to Avenida Pico and included reconstruction of the Pico interchange. So that project is open to traffic, is working well, and has provided quite a bit of congestion relief to commuters in that corridor on weekdays and weekends. Again, this proposal is to convert it to a high occupancy toll lane. And obviously the area has significantly constrained right-of-way as well, given where it goes. The final area in terms of conflicts, and again, as we engage with TCA, we'll have to talk about this as well, which is we've had a long-planned carpool lane extension that would essentially be the extension of the Measure M carpool lane that was opened in 2018, bringing that farther south about 3 miles or a little bit farther into the San Diego County line area. So the TCA has a proposal essentially to potentially widen in that area as well as potentially convert it to a high occupancy toll lane. So the notice of preparation, notice of intent has not been released. It's expected to be released in November. Since we have been talking to TCA, some new alternatives have emerged that include a focus on Los Patrones Parkway as a standalone facility and potentially converting that to a toll facility that would connect to La Pata, providing an alternative to La Pata and Antonio Parkway. Again, this is a county road to Cow Camp Road. This would extend it and potentially toll the whole portion all the way from Oso to La Pata. And then another concept that has recently emerged based on recent meetings is, again, looking at that southerly section of I-5 and potentially adding additional capacity, hot lane capacity in that section as well. So as we talk to TCA and kind of work through this process, we want to acknowledge a few of our planning principles that we apply really throughout our short and long-range transportation planning. That is looking at what Measure M is funded and keeping our commitments to the voters, but also acknowledging that things can change in the long term. And so definitely taking a long-term outlook. Multimodal solutions need to be considered as well. And we are just getting started with our South Orange County multimodal study, where we fully expect that a wide range of multimodal options will emerge from that. We also want to adhere to standard practices and methods that are generally accepted by the transportation planning and traffic and engineering community. We will engage in a transparent and open process with the community as well as elected officials, as well as respect community input. So really these 6 principles are things that we apply really in all our planning efforts, and we'll make sure that those are conveyed as we work with TCA. In the short term, our Measure M project between El Toro and State Route 73 is in the right-of-way process, and portions are in construction right now in terms of contracting. And as TCA starts their environmental process, we'll need to closely coordinate those particular outreach efforts that are underway simultaneously on an environmental document as well as a construction document. Our South Orange County multimodal study will also be an opportunity to coordinate with them. The staff report includes comments that we've made kind of throughout the process as it relates to the whole last couple of years of planning. So we do intend to attend any public meetings that TCA holds and submit some of the comments that you've seen today. So those comments will really focus on those 4 areas that I mentioned, as well as overall roles and responsibilities as it relates to TCA and OCTA. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll conclude my comments. I'm happy to answer any questions.